We're now joined by Senator Ted Cruz from the great state of Texas, from the Senate. Senator, what's new, what's different, what's going to happen next?
Well, Grover, great to be with you. Thank you, folks, for coming out. We have a lot to celebrate in terms of substantive accomplishments for the American people. First year and a half of the new administration of Republican majorities in both houses, we've been able to deliver on a number of our most important promises to the voters. None is more important than the victory of tax reform. In December of last year, we saw Republicans in both houses come together after a whole lot of work, after a whole lot of blood and sweat and tears, come together and unify on an historic tax cut. Let me thank ATR for the great work, Grover, you do, your team does, making the case that when you cut people's taxes, it makes it easier for them to provide for their families. It makes it easier for them to provide for their kids. It makes it easier for small businesses to grow. And we're seeing the economic benefits of this tax cut even just a few months into it. Over 4 million Americans have already gotten pay raises or bonuses directly as a result of the tax cut. A couple of months ago, I was on Southwest Airlines. A flight attendant walked up to me, hugged me, and said, "Thanks for the raise." I said, "You're welcome." That is impacting people all across this country, and it's impacting the state of Texas. As I talk to small business owners in Texas, there is an optimism that is incredible. You're seeing small business owners who are investing capital, who are expanding operations, who are opening new facilities, who are hiring new employees, who are raising wages, and the tax cut is a big, big, big part of that. We took the corporate tax rate that was the highest in the developed world, 35%. We cut that all the way down to 21%. Instead of jobs fleeing America and going overseas, you're now seeing jobs coming back from other countries, coming back to America. We allowed immediate expensing of capital expenditures, something I fought very hard for, which is incredibly pro-growth. It means a farmer or rancher, if you're buying a new tractor, instead of depreciating it over a whole lot of years, you expense it right now, which leads to investment in new capital, new jobs, higher wages. We saw taxes on small businesses reduced across the board, which is leading to new investments and new opportunities for families. We saw the standard deduction doubled from $12,000 a couple to $24,000 a couple, which means starting next year, 90% of Americans will fill out your taxes on a postcard. Now, personally, I think that should be 100%. I think we need to keep working towards a flat tax and ultimately to abolish the IRS. But that being said, 90% is an awfully good start. It is a big, big improvement towards simplification. We saw marginal rates reduced across the board for every level of the marginal rates, which means working families have more of their money in their pockets. We saw the child tax credit doubled from $1,000 per child per year to $2,000 per child per year, which makes a real difference for families who are struggling in terms of actually keeping the money. That's the difference between being able to pay for summer camp for your son, being able to pay to get braces on your junior high daughter, being able to take that family vacation that you put off 3-4 years because you didn't have the money. That extra money in the bank is the difference between being able to take the whole family down to the beach and play in the sand. That makes a difference in families' lives. Not only that, we saw incredible conservative victories as part of tax cuts. Part of the tax reform legislation was repealing the Obamacare individual mandate. One of the most unfair, one of the most oppressive parts of Obamacare. That's something I was proud to lead the fight for in the Senate. Just 6 months ago, nobody thought we could get it done. And then in December, we had in the Senate all 52 Republicans stand together and deliver on our promise to repeal the individual mandate. That was real tax relief for the 6.5 million people getting fined every year by the IRS because they can't afford health insurance. And another tremendous victory in this tax bill is expanding College 529 savings plans, what ended up being the most significant federal school choice legislation in history. In the Senate, it was an amendment I introduced to take these tax advantage plans, expand them, So in addition to saving for college, now parents and grandparents can save for K through 12 education, can save for public school, private school, parochial school, religious school, up to $10,000 per child per year. That passed the Senate 50-50 with the Vice President breaking the tie. And as a result, we provided real relief and help to up to 50 million school kids across the country. There's a lot to celebrate. But let me say, we should not be done. A tremendous victory in December 2017 is something to celebrate, but we should use that as encouragement. Let's go further. You know, in the weeks after the tax bill passed, Bernie Sanders was on one of the Sunday shows. And Jake Tapper asked him, said, listen, virtually every middle-class taxpayer in America is getting a tax cut as a result of this. Isn't this a good thing? And Bernie said, yes, it's a wonderful thing. But the problem is it isn't permanent. Well, I saw that and promptly tweeted out a reply. I included Bernie's link. And I said, Bernie, I agree with you. And I've drafted legislation to make the individual tax cuts permanent. Bernie, join me. Together, if we stand together, we can get this done. Permanent tax relief for taxpayers across America. Oddly enough, I haven't heard back from Bernie. It's been crickets chirping. But we ought to follow through to make the individual tax cuts permanent. We ought to follow through to make expensing permanent. We ought to follow through to make the small business tax cuts permanent. We ought to keep moving forward and prioritizing jobs, 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 because that's the priority of the American people. Grover, thank you.
Absolutely. I mentioned the time again.
Oh. Another bill that I'm introducing this week is a bill to index capital gains. That will provide real relief to investors who are providing capital. Right now, if you invest, let's say you invest $1,000, and then 10 years later you sell whatever you've invested in for $2,000. Right now you're taxed on that full gain, ignoring inflation, ignoring the fact that inflation has eaten away a big chunk of that gain. Indexing capital gains for inflation means you would be taxed on actually what you've gained, on the increase above and beyond inflation. It is a pro-growth, pro-investment policy decision, because what it would do is encourage people to put more capital, to invest more capital in businesses. And when you're investing more capital in businesses, it means you're hiring more people, it means you're buying more equipment, it means you're raising wages, you're driving economic growth. That's yet another example. We need to be delivering real results. And I don't believe we should rest on our laurels. We accomplished a great deal in 2017, but we need to keep moving forward in 2018 and do more. And when it comes to tax cuts and tax simplification, there's a lot more we can and should be doing. And I'm going to continue working to try to bring Republicans together to get that job done and to deliver on our promises.
Senator, thank you very much.